And we are going to go to our next guest who is going to join us on the old Skypa-Rooney. So we're going to go to our next guest. They are going to join us live here on Skype. And welcome back to the Sunday radio broadcast. You are live with us coast to coast and Boulder to Boulder, all over the damn place. iHeartRadio, Odyssey app, all the various places. And Angela and Eric join us here on the big broadcast. How are you two?
Hello, we're good.
Hi, we're doing good.
So before we get going, I know that there's a lot of people paying attention. How do people find you guys online, social media, websites, all the various places?
You can look up The Benders Circuit on Apple TV and on Amazon Prime Video, and it will pop up under The Benders Circuit. Also, same for Instagram and Facebook, The Benders Circuit.
That's right.
Fantastic. So, go ahead, my friend. Didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
I was just going to say this is a documentary series that Angela Izzo and myself, Eric Zimmerman, co-directed, and we followed the most cutting-edge weirdos on the electronic experimental scene. And it's real outsider stuff, but it's actually some of the coolest stuff that's happening by some of the most talented electronic performance artists in Los Angeles.
I've always been very interested in the whole EDM electronic world, because I always used to think it was just a bunch of people, doing drugs in a tent somewhere at 3 a.m. But I have interviewed a lot of musicians over the years that are in that world, and what was one of the most incredible things that you guys learned by making this documentary, following all of these folks?
I'm going to hand it to Angela, but I just want to say as a note of interest that I edited this documentary called Better Living Through Circuitry, which came out.
Awesome.
Which was a definitive EDM documentary about the whole rave scene. So then when I met Angela, we were inspired as documentarians to do this next scene, which is a whole nother step forward in electronic experimentalism. So Angela, what's some of the craziest, you want to know what's the craziest, weirdest?
Well, yeah. What was some of the things that happened, and maybe things that you weren't expecting, just kind of fill us in on this.
I think one of the most important things I've learned through this experience was the community and how people are so supportive and diverse, and it's all word of mouth. So pretty much like you go from one venue and then you find out about the next show. And I think it's like the community building that we experienced, I think is really special, and definitely crazy artists. Like one of my first artists that we filmed, he stripped naked and like peed and drank the pee. I was like, what is going on here? So it's just like, it could go that way or it could go like super dreamy, like high art.
Yeah.
So it's definitely could go either way with what you're gonna see.
Yeah, there's a guy named Justice Yeldum who smashes broken glass on his face and records it with contact mics. There's just a lot, but that's some of the extreme stuff. But like Angela said, there's a wide range, and it's really about people expressing their individuality instead of fitting in a predetermined mold. That if you're doing a certain genres, whether we know all the standard genres, there's a lot of expectations of how it's supposed to be. But when you come to one of these shows, there's no expectations. It's just like anything goes. So that's really refreshing. I kind of did a lot of music videos back in the day for Nine Inch Nails, Ministry.
That's awesome.
A lot of the industrial acts on Wax Trax Records. And then when I discovered this scene, I was like, wow, this is like a whole nother thing that people need to know about. So that's why we jumped on it.
That's awesome. I have a colleague by the name of Michael Nagy who is like, his goal over the last several years has been to interview every industrial like artist he could get his hands on I'm gonna have him get in touch with you because I think he would love to pick your brain on some of the things that you've done in the past. But so making the Bender circuit, what drew you guys to making this happen? To come in here and go, hey, we need to go make a documentary about all this.
I think it was a time when both of us was searching for a new kind of movement and sound, because my background is in like independent artists, folk artists, rock and roll, pop, traditional bands. And then when I met Eric, I was just like searching for something new, and he told me about his friend Pulsating Cyst that was playing, and we went to the show at Mata, and the rest is history. I was completely blown away by the scene. I was completely like, it was like a surge of inspiration and energy just for this like new sort of sound and music. It was almost like you're in this like crazy sound bath of noise, and it was just awesome. So we kind of got hooked and kept going and trying to find out each place to go. And
I think also what Angela said before, which is a lot of it was the community and still is the community. The people are really cool. Everyone is very open-minded. And there's something to be said for being part of an underground movement that just, this is kind of an extension in some ways of the ethos of punk rock. And what it was kind of like when we all discovered punk rock, new wave, we're like, oh, these are a bunch of cool outsider people who think differently, but we're accepted, they're accepted. And so to this day, we've expanded the community, and we're doing monthly shows at this art gallery downtown called LACDA, Los Angeles Center for Digital Arts. And it's just great. People have been coming out, after the LA fires. The last one was really nice. A lot of people attended. So, it's just a place where you can find other forward-thinking people, and that definitely drew us into it.
It's true.
It's amazing. So, once you guys are done shooting all this, one of the things that I am, because I've never done a documentary. I would love to at some point put a documentary together, but I've shot music videos just locally, and we had KJAG TV way back in the day, and all these things. The fun part's going and shooting it. It's the post-production process that is not the fun part.
That's what Eric is great at.
Take me through what your process was once you had all this goddamn footage. What the hell did you do with it?
Well, we have a lot of archives. I mean, we've shot, I believe, over 200 shows, and whittling it down, it has been a challenge, but we focus on going somewhat chronologically, even though we bounce around. And there's also topics that people speak to that we cover. And we also try to do little sections on the artist. So, it's kind of a loose structure. It was kind of developed off of Better Living Through Circuitry, which went between topics and artists. But, we also feel that this is an evolving thing. So we always know with our archives that we can go back, interview artists, edit a lot more stuff because of our archives. So, we really want to continue this on. One thing that we're hoping, again, is for people to go to Apple TV and Amazon Prime Video and watch the series, because the more people that watch it, the more we can build the support for the second season. So we have all the footage on these drives, people. We're ready to show you more episodes. So come on,
Come on
Yeah. No, it is a big task, and it does take time. And that's why also we wanted to put it out as a real series. And, nothing against YouTube or Facebook or Instagram, but it's another level to put it out next door to, Housewives of Orange County or The Bachelor. This is our idea of what TV should be. So we're encouraging people to watch, and that will give us more support to edit.
Well, it's also supposed to start as a documentary, and then we have kept shooting, so we realized it was better to make it a series. That way we could zone in on different subjects and characters and dive in that way. And
Plus,
I think
yeah,
organized
it's
that
cool.
way.
Yeah, it's more of a daunting task. Certainly, there's a whole nother philosophy, which is focus on just a few characters and make it self-contained film. There really isn't much of a festival circuit for any kind of docu-series, but nonetheless, as Angela said, this allows it to be more open-ended, and we can keep building, showing new artists, and
Fantastic.
keep building off of it. So yeah.
Now, you guys focused on the LA scene for season 1. Do you have any plans to explore any of the other scenes moving forward, or what's the plan there?
I feel like that since shooting this documentary, more and more people are coming out and exposing themselves to us. Like, hey, I'm in Mexico, or hey, there's a whole like Philadelphia group, or oh, we're up in the Bay Area. So I think that in the future it'd be nice to go, because one of our characters moved across the country, and I think it would be cool to like zone in on like a certain area for like an episode.
We've
And
also
like, even in Florida, I know of some scenes that I've heard of. So
we've also brought artists out from Japan and New York, and we in these showcases that we're doing. So we are trying to build a more national and international network of people. It does take time, but it's actually but it's actually really cool because New York has a festival called End Times, and we have some strong contacts in artists like Gil Kuno from Japan, and they will be featured. Some of these other artists, we just had a showcase where an artist came out from New York, Embryo Room, Edward Quist, and so it's really been building. So we're hopeful that as we go forward, we will be able to keep networking and growing with national and international artists.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, what was one of the misconceptions that you guys heard going into this, and then were you able to dispel it along the way with the documentary?
So you mean like, I think the whole thing is people trying to figure out what it is. Like, what are you guys shooting? What is the scene? Like, when you say noise, like, what does that mean? When you say this, like, it's just trying to have people understand what the film is actually about, pretty much. Well, the movement, really, because it's so underground, it's so punk, it's so different from a lot of people. So it's just to, like, pinpoint it.
Yeah, it's experimental electronic. I think, one of the misconceptions with people is that they think they won't like it because when they hear the word noise, they think it means something unpleasant. But within the scene, it's just like, yeah, let's make some noise, or people like to get noisy. They like it's things that aren't your traditional forms of music. So I think if people are more open-minded, they might find that they might like it and not have a misconception that not all noise is noise.
It's true, and it's like a fine art piece because each performance is like one of a kind. No two shows are alike. And if you want to see the same song, the same band, well rehearsed, that's, a whole other thing. But this is like, if you want to see artists creating an instrument and then playing that instrument that they created, is like, I think, pretty mind-blowing.
I'll say something briefly as a kind of funny anecdote, but I took someone I was dating to an early show when I was first discovering the movement, and it was just this one guy in a kind of half-empty room with 10 sweaty dudes under a fluorescent light, and like my friend was like, "You actually took me to this," and then a few years later, after Angela and I were talking, we had met and talked about documentaries. She was doing documentaries, I was doing documentaries, music videos, we both did. So I said, hey, same friend, I said, let's go. He's playing at this club. But when we went to go see it, it was like a whole nother thing. He had this fiber optic helmet and like squid gloves, and it was like the whole thing. It was leaps, and it was leaps beyond that 10 sweaty guys in under the fluorescent light. And that's when I was like, wow, this is actually a thing. So I kind of was challenged from my own conceptions as it went along, and I saw it develop.
Fantastic. Fantastic. You guys are just like on top of the world with this thing.
I wish. No, it's really hard. It's really hard because it is so eclectic and it is so outside the box. And people are always like, "Yeah, we want to think outside the box." But when you actually show them something outside the box, they're like, "Whoa, that's outside the box."
They're like, no, that's uncomfortable. We're going back in the box, type thing. So now that this is out, what is your guys' next project?
Well, like Eric was saying, we've been doing these monthly events at LACDA in downtown Los Angeles, where people can come once a month, and we curate with Sleep Debt Productions, and I think we're basically just hyping up the doc, doing the shows, creating immersive experiences, maybe taking it even on the road to different cities. But I think, once we get this established, focus on season 2, right?
Yeah, I mean, we have some individual projects and things we're cooking up, but in the meantime, we're hoping that this blossoms and at least that it becomes more self-sustaining, because like I said, this is our alternative to the Housewives of Orange County, but we have to do it ourselves. So we're hoping
so awesome.
that these real people that are out there, anyway, this is what we want to see it take root and blossom. So we're going to keep putting some energy into it.
Rooting for the underdogs.
Rooting for the underdogs. Real artists and real people.
That is amazing.
Nobody's throwing champagne with a glass full of ice cubes in this documentary.
Damn. Might be doing something else though.
So I am always interested in the behind the scenes aspect of this. How did you guys get so much access to a lot of these folks? Because was it a lot of you knew somebody who juiced you in, or was it we're talking to everybody and their brother trying to get press passes? Or is this so underground? You have to do any of that crap. You just show up and do your thing.
Well, I think definitely the first year we were working on this project, it was 100% word of mouth. It was like one show I went to, I picked up a flyer, and I think it was for Celebrate Everything, it was called. And then I left it on my desk, and then the night of the show, I'm like, oh yeah, the show's going on tonight. So we went, and then we met this whole other group of artists like Kron, who was strictly modular synthesizers. And then from that show, we learned about what the next show was going to be. So it was very much like going down the rabbit hole. And in the docuseries, I became a character as a thread, because I'm discovering the scene with you. So it's almost like I'm going down this path of discovery with the viewer in a way. And we would end up in these weird alleyways, and I'm like, are we going to get robbed? Where are we going? I'm scared. What are you taking me to? And then you just go through and you make it, and you're like, oh, cool. This is actually happening. Okay.
Yeah, it's in episode 5, you'll see there's some busts where we'd be at an event and the cops would bust the event, and everyone's come on, we're gonna get. And then there's another place that everybody groups together and goes to the next place. So we did that.
We were hardcore journalists. We were really journalists on this scene and becoming close with our characters, and then we became really now when we show up to a show, everyone's like, oh, you guys are here.
Well, it's also part of the arc of the series, which is Angela starts out more as a newbie, and then by the end, she's throwing shows herself. And that's kind of really what happened in real life. We didn't really know we came in as newbies. Adrian Diamond, Pulsating Cyst was the first person who we went to go see, but since then we've become very tight with this community, and a lot of this came from my mentor in documentaries, who used to have a show with James Coburn, this guy Dushan Jersey. He actually discovered the headhunters of Borneo, And he told me, he said, if you really want to do a documentary, you have to embed yourself with the subject, and you really have to get inside and don't come from the outside, do it from the inside. And so that's what he taught me, and that's what we did. We embedded ourselves in the scene. And now these people who at first they were kind of like, who are these people with cameras and why are you here? But over the years, like Angela said, now we're like all best friends, and it's a great thing to be part of this community.
That's awesome. That's fantastic. Well, before we let you guys go, how do we see all this?
You could go, like Eric said, on just Google the Bender Circuit, and our Instagram will pop up, our Facebook will pop up. You could check out our website at the Bender Circuit and on Amazon Prime and Apple TV.
Yeah, the links.
Season 1.
The links are right there at the top of the website, thebendercircuit.com. You can type it into your browser. You can type it into Apple TV search.
It'll just pop up. You'll see it. Bam.
We know how to find stuff. Thebendercircuit.com. Go find it. Go find it.
Yes.
Thank you so much for this. We really appreciate the exposure, because we're not a major network here. It's all DIY, but it's really cool that this DIY scene where we're doing it ourselves, and while the rest of Hollywood is crying, we're doing it. So DIY, baby, DIY.
Well, you guys are amazing. Angela, Eric, thank you for making time for us today. This has been an honor and a privilege, and I hope to talk to you. I hope to talk to you guys again.
Yeah, please, anytime.
Well, have yourself a wonderful day, and we will talk to you soon. Good luck with this project. You guys deserve it.
Thank you so much for having us.
Appreciate it. There they go. That is Angela and Eric joining us on the old Skip Skype today.